So welcome to our latest podcast, and my apologies first of all for not making any podcasts for the past 2 weeks. The reason being is quite simple. It's very, very time consuming to actually edit the videos, and it takes longer than we thought. And we're looking at the ways to sort of make that a bit easier. Now, today's podcast for me was quite wonderful, really. We had two students who have both been doing the knowledge for a little while, not a super length of time, but still longer than normal, and have both had fairly difficult journeys on the knowledge. And it turned out to be probably my favorite podcast of all, really. We had a proper gentle discussion, and it gives you an insight into the journeys that people take. So I really hope you enjoy this week's podcast. And if you do like our podcast, it's quite important that you subscribe, that you like, and you hit the notification bell. And any comments you leave down below, I always reply to them. You can also listen to these podcasts on Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and an abundance of others. So if you need to just listen, go on to those podcasts. So watch and enjoy. I'm here today with Sertac Safet and Phil Leach. Both are knowledge students at the moment, and both have been doing the knowledge for a little while. We'll talk about how long that is. Hoş geldiniz, Sertac, and welcome to yourself, Phil. And to start off with, basically, let's start with you, Sertac. When did you start the knowledge?
Well, I started January 2014.
2014.
While I was working full time. Mm-hmm. I started doing the knowledge weekends, Saturday, Sundays when I wasn't working. I was out learning my blue books.
Okay.
That's how I started.
So you're here basically representing the Turks for this. You're a Turkish Cypriot.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And Phil, you're here representing the East End, I imagine.
Yeah, could say that, yeah.
Yeah, well, you're a boy out of Canning Town, aren't you?
Yeah, I was born in Plaistow.
Yeah.
Lived in the Portway for some time in Plaistow, but moved to Canning Town for about 5 years.
Okay, and how long have you actually been doing the knowledge now?
About 6 years in total.
6 years, okay. I know that you personally have had a hard time on it. What are you on at the moment? What's your situation?
I'm back to 56s now. I was on 28s. Went through 28s but didn't score. But as you say, lots of things went on when I was on the 28s, and basically I went back to 56s.
Yeah, but you've scored on the last one, is that right?
I scored on the last one,
Yep.
and felt quite confident with the last appearance.
Yep.
I had Mr. Dow, and he said that 3 or 4 people went in before me, and I called the best out of all the 4. So
with Mr. McDowell.
So that gave me some confidence to go forward now.
Yeah,
It would do, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So that 28s and going back to 56s no longer is possible. In theory, it's still possible, but it's unlikely to happen again. Has that given you some comfort to know that?
Yeah, it's a bit disheartening because obviously I only missed it.
You missed it.
What I was doing the knowledge at home wasn't a good idea. Mm-hmm. And then basically when I went back to 56s, I come to see you.
Yep.
You advised me to join the school, which I did.
Yep.
Which I would have, if I would have done that a month beforehand. I basically.
You think it would have made a difference to the way?
Possibly, yeah. Maybe I could have phoned them or written to them and asked for a bit more time.
Yeah.
Because I was going through a difficult patch anyway. So
yeah.
Maybe they would have given me a bit more time, and then I would have been over the threshold. So
what's the difference then, Phil? I mean, at home, how are you comparing your home study to your school study? What's the factors that you think are making the plus points?
First of all, for myself, I think it's because at home obviously this is constant revising from the time you get up until the time you finish.
Yeah.
Obviously you have breaks in between, but at home you seem to have longer breaks.
Mm-hmm.
You seem to sit on the chair in the front room, you fall asleep, you lay on the bed, you fall asleep. When you wake up, it feels like whatever you've done before that, you feel like fresh again, but it's not all sinking in properly. Yeah. Back at the school here, and also at home, if you find a route that you're struggling with, you've got nobody to ask apart from your sat nav, or just trying to find a route yourself, which is not always the best route.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're doing illegal turns at home and you can't really rectify it. But here, there is always someone below and above your level. So basically,
it's that interaction.
Yes, and sometimes I just sit in the chair and listen to other people calling the same route, because we both work. All of us are normally working from the same sheet that day.
Yeah.
So there's always somebody calling a route that looks a bit better than yours, and I pin my route up and I listen to someone next door to where they're calling a route and see whether they're calling it better than me. That's
always been one of the things, that there's slightly different colours, no matter of a run. I call them the colours of the run, the way someone else does it compared to me. No matter how good you can be, I always seem to see someone do something and I think that is got something that I like. Yes. And you're always adopting it. And the thing is, we become like connoisseurs of wine, where you see something and I would like to have that one. And it becomes easier and easier to add it to your repertoire because you're excited about the line. So the more you see it and enjoy it, then they can adopt these routes much, much quicker.
Yeah.
So yes, it's excellent that you come in and you've turned it around. I know that Sertaj has had a hard ride, but you're now in fairly good shape.
I am, yes. I'm on stage 5 now, which is the last stage. It's taking me so long to get here.
One from last stage. You got stage 6 after that.
Oh, yes, the last stage of the knowledge.
Yeah. Then you do the Greater London knowledge, the suburban knowledge, yeah.
It's correct. I'm on 1-1 now.
1-1, 21s.
21
so
1-1s, yeah.
Quite literally, if we score on the next 3, you're looking at 3 months' time, and it's all over in that respect, which I hope for you. In terms of doing the knowledge, both of you, I think, have had a rocky road, I would say. Fairly so or not fairly so is the debatable part. For yourself, Sertaj, where do you think you went wrong in the early days, if you could put your finger on anything about it?
Well, not understanding how the knowledge worked.
Yep.
This is the thing. And plus, I put my application in a bit too early. As long as when I got my bike, when I got my first blue book from you, actually, no, from the Knowledge Point, I got my first book. And I've met someone and they said, well, Knowledge Point, because I find it difficult to do the Knowledge Point way, because Knowledge Point way, you had to do the first run, Manor House, for example, the Gibson Square. You had to pick up all the points from Manor House. And then you have to pick up all the points at Gibson Square. So, yeah, the Gibson Square. And then study that way. I find it hard to do it that way.
Yeah.
So I met someone in Finsbury Park and they suggested Vizan, and I came to your seminar and I bought your first book, and then I started doing it your way as well. So that put me back a little bit. And secondly, not understanding how the knowledge works or how to do the knowledge.
Yeah.
That's why I struggled. And to be honest with you, I find it sometimes hard to mix work with the knowledge because, as I said earlier on, I was working full time.
Yeah, you worked quite hard, I remember.
Yeah,
yes.
Monday to Friday, every day, and doing my knowledge weekends. That's what kept me slow.
Have you gone full time on the knowledge now, or
no?
Almost?
I'm on the knowledge Tuesday to Friday.
Tuesday. So, but you've got more time on the knowledge,
Yes.
and I do think I have a lot of respect for people who do a full time job and do the knowledge. And any of us that have ever done the knowledge can see how immensely difficult it is to do that. Personally, I don't think I would have the ability to do that, to work and do it. I did the knowledge pretty much full time or in a relaxed state, and you can focus on it. And when you're not doing the knowledge, you get an opportunity to relax. But whereas if you're full time working and then doing the knowledge, there's no relaxed time. And this relaxed time is actually very, very important for your brain to absorb all the information.
Definitely no relaxed time for me, because if I'm working Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and Tuesday, by the time I probably don't relax by the time I pull myself together, it'll be Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening. And then I don't get time off. I don't stop. I just, even the weekend I'm working, I'm up. I start work 6, I'm up 4 o'clock calling blue books.
Yeah.
Since I've been doing that for a year now, every morning, has improved my my knowledge.
It's gone on. It did jump quite quickly to a more smooth transition coming through.
And then doing, like, getting into it from Tuesday to Friday is good. And then switching up from not calling anything point to point, for example, for 3 days, it does affect my my knowledge sometimes.
Got any appearances that you would say that you'd like to repeat in terms of good ones or bad ones?
I've had a few bad ones and a few good ones as well. And there's had times that examiner wasn't listening where I was calling. I was lucky that, in that way of respect, because I was calling a road that was behind me, and then he
we get away with things sometimes.
Yes,
we have to
yes.
accept our luck.
Yeah.
But I suppose I did have felt very sorry for a student just yesterday. He was redlined from 3-3, but not back a whole level, because you can't be back a whole level. But he felt he could have got his drop, but the points were deducted for hesitation, and it kind of, he felt a little hard done by, but then realised that there was at least 2 appearances where it was the other way round. The scores were given and could easily have not been given. When you're talking borderline, it's always upsetting. If we clearly make mistakes, then...
And another thing, Dean, I find that depends on the examiner's mood. There's been a play, I'm not going to say give the examiner's name, but 3 appearances ago, the examiner was very lineable, and he was in a good mood, I would say. Not lineable, good mood. So he gave it to me.
He was lenient.
Well, yeah, lenient.
So he gave you the appearance that you think yourself you probably shouldn't have scored.
Well, no, I scored, but he gave me a couple of rows that I couldn't remember. Yeah. Sometimes you know what it's like. You get brain dead. Sometimes you can't remember the road. Yeah.
And so it's been helpful on that day. So sometimes they are helpful, and if they wanted to, they could punish you for those days.
Exactly that. And the same examiner, having said that, I didn't call one shoot name, and he zeroed me for that line. Yeah. So obviously, as you just said, balances.
It can balance out. Phil, you've had some bad appearances.
I have, unfortunately.
You want to tell us about those? What's the worst one? What's the worst appearance you ever had?
The worst appearances, I've written to TFL. My mother just died. I've written to TFL asking for more time because the appearance date fell on the same week as the funeral. Yeah. I've written and explained that my mother just died from cancer. I needed more time, obviously, to be able to revise to get ready for the appearance that was due. Yeah. They give me another date, which was about 10 to 14 days after. I went up there, and I won't say what examiner, but one of the examiners asked me basically hospitals to cemeteries, hospitals to hospice, and I thought it was a bit harsh. And although I thought it was a bit harsh, I scored that day, but by luck, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe that's topical in terms of knowing what you went through.
Oh, that is rough, isn't it?
that was a hard time. Yeah. I thought it was a bit harsh. I was struggling in the appearance to call it. I think on the second run, I was going to get up and walk out and just throw the towel in.
Your judgment was getting the better of you, and you was like...
It was, I thought I was going to break down in the chair. So in the end, what I did, took a deep breath, basically just not thought about it. I was giving a run. I can't remember what the run was now. It was at the top of the map somewhere, hospital, and it was coming down to a hospice. So anyway, for some reason, I just couldn't see nothing, and I see the blue book heading in that direction. I used the blue book run. Yeah. Managed to turn it around at the bottom and managed to sit it down. Examiner said I went a bit wide. Could I call it again? I called it again, and I was scored. So that was, I was chuffed.
How long after your mother's funeral was that?
Probably about 10 days.
So with the letter sent in, I mean, well, I'm a little bit like dumbfounded. I mean, it's like if you want to, he has scored you. That part is wonderful. Yeah. But being sort of having the whole experience underlined for you and reminded for you by asking hospices and hospitals, oh God Almighty!
It has gone on a bit after that appearance. It did go on several appearances after that as well. Right. And I thought one examiner was basically digging me out.
You sure there was no paranoia involved?
Possibly, could have been. That's what I thought. One examiner was digging me out, but basically, I've forgot about all that now. Yeah, I've moved forward from there.
You have picked yourself up really well, and I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, I'm calling much better now. I'm calling more, more fluent. I think that's the key, is to get more fluent. I was stuttering in the chair when I was sitting in the chair in front of the examiner. Yeah, I was not looking at the run properly before starting calling it. I was getting halfway and then stuttering, but now it's a lot better. Yeah. Obviously, I've got loads of work to do. But I'm here every day.
You're doing it every day. I've seen you dedicated
I'm doing the
now.
work, yeah.
And your son is now here coming in as well.
And that's another reason why I can't give it up.
Yeah.
My boy's joined the knowledge. He's obviously done all the runs and all the points as well now.
Yep.
So he's here every day with me for a few hours. And if I give it up, he's going to give it up.
Oh, okay. So he's dragging you through, and you're going to have to drag him through.
Yeah. So,
It's not a bad thing, is it?
No, it's not a bad thing at all. Any funny stories?
Oh, I had a Christmas present in the middle of summer from one of the examiners.
What, a middle of the summer Christmas present wrapped in wrapping paper.
Well, what happened is I went to, I don't know, are we allowed to mention their names? Or?
Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
Mr. McDowell.
Mr. McDowell.
Yeah, I went in there and then I'm always nervous. I don't understand why I'm nervous, but I got this spray that I spray before I go into, I spray as soon as I wake up, to be honest with you, before I get on my bike, because I use my bike to go to TFL now. So I goes in there nervous and then calling the runners. Phil mentioned I was splattering and misfiring, but then he says, that was his words, if I remember correctly. In the knowledge, he says you get this lifetime opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity. I thought, okay, so what's that then? I thought to myself, he goes, I want to give you a Christmas present today. I thought, right, middle of summer, we get a Christmas present. Obviously, he wanted to score me, as you mentioned earlier on. So he scored me that day. But basically what I got from there, he says, if you come right in front of me again, misfiring and splattering, I'm not going to score you. This is the impression I got. So funny enough, I had him last appearance actually, didn't?
Yeah.
And then I sat there and then he remembered. Obviously he must have looked at his notes because, Mr. Saffet, he went, I gave you a Christmas present. Last time we met was in June. I gave you a Christmas present. I said, well, thank you very much for that. So I remember that. And he goes, let's see if I'm going to get my money's worth today.
And did he?
He definitely did, yes.
He scored again?
He scored again.
Oh, well
I
done.
walked away with 31 points last time.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter how much I walked away with, but I scored, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mr. McDowell's always got a few words to say to himself, hasn't he?
Yeah. What's your best appearance, Phil?
Best appearance is after all that settled down, and I went back in one day. I walked in the room and one of the examiners said, I won't mention his name. One of the examiners said to me, so you ain't been doing very well, Mr. Leach. Have you been revising? I said, yes, sir. I said, I've had it pretty tough. I never mentioned to him what happened. But I said, I've had it pretty tough and I'm still here. So he goes, well, sit down then because you're going to score today. So, anyway, he goes, let's see how you do today, but you're going to score today. So I said, okay then, sir. So anyway, he's given me the questions. They seem to be to my level, I would say. Was hard.
Big points.
Yeah.
They was big points, I would say. Yeah, they was hard for me at the time, but I managed to call them, and he scored me a C. So I was happy that day, and I felt from that day onwards, I felt that all the stuff that happened in the past with bad experience with the appearances.
Yeah.
I thought now this is going to be a good start now to start fresh, and that was the fresh start. And when I had the appearance just a couple of weeks ago and scored again with a C, and obviously the examiner spoke to me for about an hour afterwards.
Oh, wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, he explained that obviously I made massive progress, and he asked me basically what has made the progress. And I just said really it was joining the school and getting the fluency back, all running as if like when I'm calling a point to point, 2 points that they're asking, I'm calling a point to point, making it more sound like a blue book. So it's just more fluent.
Yeah, you're looking to... Fluency has a big role in this, as I've said on a few of the other podcasts. If you say something smooth enough and well enough, it can kind of gloss over any mistakes. But what we tend to do is we tend to highlight our mistakes by stuttering. So if you've made a mistake, your brain kicks in, oh, I've made a mistake. Then you pause and you allow the examiner's mind to catch up and hear everything you've just said. And the mistake is now like a beacon.
Stands out like
whereas you could just call something nice and steady, and you may have forgotten a road, but somehow you've said the road name completely wrong, but in the fluency of it, and you can get away with it. I mean, these are little tricks that we can employ, and we take the advantage of them whenever we can. But there is a lot to be said of the fluency that we're trying to create.
Also confidence.
Yeah.
Calling with confidence.
Yeah. Well, there is a lot asked of us. Our standards are very, very high. What you guys have to achieve... the general public has no idea of what we achieve. I mean, they think that we learn 320 runs and we get tested on them. That seems to be roughly the consensus of what we do. They have no concept that the 320 runs is
the
beginning.
Yeah.
The beginning.
The beginning of the beginning of the major.
Yeah. And how's your son getting on? Reggie, innit?
Yeah, he's doing pretty well. I say he's done all the runs. He's done his radius maps, done the points. He's got most of the big points. At the moment, he's just struggling to get around the map. But I did tell him from day one to start doing a little bit of map work, even if it was an hour each day.
Yeah.
Every time he goes out on the bike, collects his points, come back and do an hour of map work. But he didn't. But obviously, he's working as well. So he's working, plus he's got a young child. So obviously it's hard.
It is real. No.
But he's putting the time in. He's giving me 3 hours a day map work. Plus he's calling his blue book before he gets in. He's doing his points.
Well, this is giving me an opportunity to point one thing out for all those that are basically listening that are beginners. When you've finished your blue book, you are not going to be any good at point to point. And one of the things I used to teach was if you can accept that you've done your blue book runs, you've done an amount of points, that doesn't make you any good at point to point. You will be rubbish, and the happier you can be about that, the quicker you can learn. Yeah. So people think finishing the blue book and some points means I should have done something now, I should be good. No, point to point is then learn on the map by developing that skill over and over with repetition of questions that you practice. It isn't there once you've completed the blue book runs. It's something that's developed, and doing map work along the way can help it. But then the amount of map work we have to do.
That's been the hardest struggle for me as well, is the map work itself.
Yeah.
Not being able to see anything on the map when I first started map work, where other people have done exactly the same as what I did. They've done their runs and their points, but they could still see
a little bit
where places was on the map. So to me, I just put the way I got around it was I just based the map on obviously it's a square to me, and basically everything is on that square.
Yeah.
It's just knowing whether it's on the left, right.
I know you have dyslexia. Do you think the dyslexia helped hindered your map reading skills?
I don't think it's made it any harder for me. I think if anything, it's not. I don't have the reading part of dyslexia. The reading is not a problem for me. I can read fine. I think it's the memory of me remembering stuff for long enough. That's the problem with me. See, I can read and write fine, but I need to be reading every day to be able to, if I stop reading, then I will go back to square one. I'll have to learn to read again, which obviously yous don't need to do. But that is a problem with me, You
sure your dyslexia isn't basically marijuana abuse?
I think it's brain damage. I used to box, so...
it could well be. I mean, that's not actually a very... that's a fairly fair comment. It could well be.
Yeah.
Talk about your boxing.
I did box for 20 years.
Yeah. You wasn't very good, apparently.
No, apparently not.
No. That's why he's doing his knowledge. He was a good boxer, he'd be a millionaire now.
Apparently I started at a very young age, maybe about 8 or 10. I went through the amateur stuff. Was going to turn pro. Basically, what happened? My son died, and basically that put that on the head. That put.
What year are we going back to then?
My son died in 1995.
Yeah.
I gave up boxing for 3 years. Come back after 3 years. By then I was 28. I was struggling to get fit. I got fit again. Had 2 more fights, and then decided to knock it on the head. Through all that experience, I was running a successful business as well, which I've still got, but don't really do a lot no more. But I had a roofing business, so basically that's what kept me going, the business. But now, as obviously I've got older, I'm 52 now. Wanted to all the guys that I've worked with through the years have been the same guys. It's always been a family business. So we decided we wanted to do something else. So 3 of us from the business decided we was going to do the knowledge. I bought my bike. They never. They're not doing nothing no more, but I'm doing the knowledge. Sooner or later, I'm going to get my badge.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I think
everybody will.
At our age, there's I think I mentioned this in another podcast. There's a guy who wrote in the other day, 60 years old. When we get older and they're questioning, should I do this at an older age? Absolutely. What else are we going to do? For me, it's like, if you don't do this, you're basically accepting that you're too close to death to bother to do anything. That you are saying, I'm 60, therefore I'm dead, so I won't do the knowledge. It's a perfect retire. He might live till he's 90. He can drive a cab till he's 90 if he's healthy. So
and Larry was 60, wasn't he?
Larry was older than 60. I think he was 64.
Oh, was it really?
But he wasn't the oldest that I've been through. I have had one guy go through who was 70. So yeah, he was excellent, old John. And again, he didn't need to do it so much. He was just doing it because he wanted to and could. And he bought a cab and drove a cab. He's dead now, I'm afraid. But but that was it. He done it. And it's something we can do. Strangely enough, the best people that should do this are the youngest. And they're the ones that can't foresee the future. They think they're going to live for 1,000 years, not realising that the 20s that they're in are going to go in a blink of an eye. And if I could have done it when I was 18... I now know for sure that's when I would have chosen to have done it. I done it when I was 26. Wow. So I would have done it earlier had I known.
To be honest, I wish I'd done it much earlier, to be honest. Just for the fact, what I've seen of doing the knowledge. I've lived in London all my life. I thought I knew London. I didn't know London at all.
No.
Exactly. That's what I thought I knew London. But I knew how to get from Tottenham to West End and back.
I've
everywhere else.
I've always worked in the city. I've always drove through London, but realised how much time I've wasted in my life sitting in a car on roads that I don't need to be on to get from A to B. If I would have done the knowledge and then left the knowledge and went into the building trade, I think I would have got around a lot quicker and not sat in cars. I mean, I've been sitting in cars down the city for hours, getting home from work before in the past, where I'm on the wrong road. It's just as simple as that.
Now you know that.
But now I can drive through London, even if there's traffic. I can take a route where I know where I could. Several other routes offer that route, and I can see what one's the best. And
it is. We all experience the same thing. We went to buy a car once when we was younger. We live in Mile End, and we went to St John's Wood, and I think the road was Boundary Road we went to. And I remember us going there, looking in our map books and everything. I was only kids, only young to go and buy this Mini. And I thought we'd gone to another planet. I mean, we'd gone so far in my mind that for me now seems like a 15-minute journey. St John's Wood's nowhere. No, for me now, everywhere in London is nowhere. I can see how long it's going to take me. I know exactly what I'm going to do to get. But the adventure we had just getting to St John's Wood that I thought was literally another planet away from the East End, which is really just a hop and a jump away.
Yeah, but seeing the buildings for me in London is made it enjoyable for me, because obviously I'm in the building trade. Seeing the old buildings and seeing parts of London that I've never seen before.
So do you know some of the news as well, Sir Church? Do you know some of the interesting things, such as the smallest house, the narrowest house? And
I mean, when I learned to drive when I came here in 1980, I knew how to get from Turnpike Lane to King's Cross, because I lived in Turnpike Lane, and I used to work part-time in Midland Road, where they got the, what's the name, opposite the British Library now, which it wasn't the British Library then. So when I started learning how to drive, I followed the bus routes, and I followed the ring roads. As soon as I get to King's Cross, wherever I am in London, I follow the ring roads to King's Cross. From King's Cross, I can get home. That was the way, because I could come all the way to South London and so on, and then to get home, I head to King's Cross.
But you're better now.
Oh yeah, I think so. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
So, what's the most interesting house you've seen in London? It's sort of.
It's gone now, over Blackfriars Bridge, the upside down house. Did you ever see it? There was 3 of them on the right hand side.
I must have done, but I never knew. No, I don't.
So my mate told me that. My mate done the knowledge with Wizan as well. He's been out about 7 years now. But he said to me, have you noticed the house over Blackfriars Bridge?
Which side?
On the south side.
Yep.
So he goes, as you go over the south side, look on the right. So I went over there looking on the right. I didn't notice it. It took me a long while to notice it. But there was 3 buildings there. But I don't...
The V's of the roofs.
The V, everything was on the floor. So the gutter was down low, where it should be up at the top. The street door was actually at the top of the house. Everything was upside down. The house... But obviously they must have got in through the building from around the other side, because you couldn't access any of it. But it was just like a street door was up in the air, the gutter was on the floor.
I'm going to have to look this up and see if there's an image, because I never, ever noticed it.
No, my mate noticed it. He done the knowledge. About, I don't know whether
is it one of the things that he's noticed? No, but it sounds excellent.
Sorry?
Is it gone at those houses?
There were 3 of them. It was 3 of them together. Yeah, it was knocked down there.
This is next to the Coat and Badge?
Yeah, basically,
Doggets,
yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look out for that one.
But yeah, that's the strangest thing I've ever seen. It's because I was sitting there looking and thinking, how did they get into this building then? Because I couldn't find a way into the building either. But obviously, you would need a 3-section ladder to get through the street door because it was up in here.
I'll have to see if I can find an image. I'm going to put it just there.
Yeah.
And because there are 3 other places, I'm not going to say where they are, so people who are listening can maybe find them. There's a house that's very, very narrow. It's in SW7, I think. So I'll give a clue on that one. In Kensington towards Knightsbridge towards Kensington. It's off of there, and it's very narrow. So when you look in the window from the front, the back wall is that table. It's this table wide. That's the width of the house. But the whole fascia is a Georgian house, and yet it's only that wide. And behind that is a tennis court. And in this bit is a bed. They actually have put a single bed in that piece. And the house, as it goes down, gets slightly wider. And then it's a full-faced house. So that's one of the interesting ones. The other one is in the other side of the park. So, and again, I won't say where so people find it, which is narrow in terms of this way. It was built in an alleyway.
Right, yeah.
So, and then the other one, again, is actually off of the other side of the park in a similar area in Bayswater, is the fake house. The facade is there, but there's no house at all. It's the railway bridge.
Railway bridge, I know that.
Yeah.
So they're interesting things. They were always great to look up. And those things used to be asked, but they're not asked anymore. Yeah. So what was the thing about Marble Arch? There used to be a hanging point at Marble Arch. There's a memorial in the middle to the hanging. And the only other one I know is the last public hanging in London, where they hung 2 people for stealing from the Weavers' Mills.
All right.
Was outside. Do you know the Weavers? Have you ever been from the East End, Phil? You know the Weavers' Arms was in Roman Road. They outside the Salmon and Ball they hung them.
Right, yeah.
That was the last public hanging, I think, in the street.
Right.
What a grim way to go. Anyway. Did you do your best appearance, worst appearance?
My worst appearance was Mr.
Mr. Who?
Mr. G. Mr. Gunning.
Mr. Gunning.
Is no score.
No.
It was nice about it.
What do you mean, you got 0? Or
Zero.
You got a whole 0?
All 0. And that was the worst one. I said, I'm so sorry. I was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
I said, I'm so sorry, sir. I've just never been like this. Because, don't worry, he says to me, take it as a bad day at the office.
Yeah.
I was expecting to shout and scream at me. Really, I was going, fuck, what's happened here?
Yeah.
But it was really nice about it because take it as a bad day at the office.
Yeah.
And
that's a medal of honour, a complete 0.
Yeah,
I mean, it's as good as a complete 40.
You know what I said to him? I said to him, after the second or the third one, I said, sir, I don't mean to sound horrible. I said, can I take a 0 and go? Can I take a D and go? And he went, it's not up to you to ask for a D, it's up to me to give it to you. I said, okay, sir, thank you.
I'll take a C then instead.
I'm going to get a D anyway.
Yeah.
Because after the, I think the second or third one, I just give up.
So this might be interesting for people who are listening. What is your scores? Can you name them?
I can tell you that 13 Ds in a row.
13 Ds in a row. Well done for still being here and going for it.
And then I scored with my mares. I thought my mares was the goddess.
Yeah.
You know, and she gave me the boost, I guess. And then and I carried on. I got my drop to 28s, and then I got put back on the 28s, and then now I'm on 21s.
Yeah. Oh, well done. And Phil, what's yours? Is it anything like that?
Yes, it's virtually similar. I had 12 Ds on the trot.
Yeah.
During that, I think I had Mr. Gunnings 3 times on the trot.
Yeah.
And I had Mr. Patel as well.
Gunning 3 times, Patel.
And once, yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously, we should know this stuff, so, you know. Do I blame them? No. Do I blame myself? Yeah, to be honest. Because when I started the knowledge, my first impression of the knowledge is that I think I actually did ask you when I come down here years ago, am I going to actually be able to get around London without a map?
Yeah.
That was my whole thing of starting the knowledge. I didn't want to actually finish the knowledge and not be able to get around London.
Yeah.
So,
but you can now.
I can now. So yeah. So when I go inside, when I go and see examiners and basically I get a D, that's a lesson to me that I need to do a little bit more in that area.
Yeah.
That's all it does for me now, to be honest. If I stay on the knowledge a few months longer, so be it, then that's what it's going to be. But keep going.
The end is coming now, Phil. I can see it for both years.
I remember my first appearance was at Mum Gerard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Mum Gerard.
Mum Gerard. She's like, I called. She gave me all Blue Book runs. One of them was Haringey Station to Whitestone Pond. I remember that. And I started running, and I got myself muddled up. I said, "Can I call that again, Mum?" She goes, "Come on, hurry up." She goes to me, "This is your manner." She goes, "You should know where you're going."
Yeah. It can be in a sense, quite off-putting, really. I mean, if you went for, this has always been my little bit of an argument, if you went for a driving test, so your driving instructors taught you how to drive, you go for the driving test, the driving examiner who's going to test you and pass you has to basically do a neutral job of saying you failed here, 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 and here. He can't actually say to you something like, you're driving a bit too slowly, or you're driving a bit too quickly, or anything. He's just got to sit there, take what you do, pass or fail you. So this could be inferred as a little bit of interference, psychological interference. And I already think that we are learning and required to learn and know so much that, please, we don't need to be put off. It's already hard enough.
Yeah.
You know, I can barely know my own name. Just
I've had days before when I've come home and just chucked all the books in the bin.
Got them out again.
Got them out the next morning. Yeah, got them out the next morning. Now everything's on the phone, so it's not so bad. But
Go chuck your phone away.
when I was doing the books, they went in the bin several times and got them back out again. I've had some good experiences at TFL as well. I had Mr. Thomas for my first appearance.
Oh yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah, he's a nice man. I actually done your bankers book for the first time round on the first 56s. So I went in there, he asked me 4 bankers. So I've called 4 bankers and he stopped me halfway through one of them, asked me to call it again. And I've called it again. Then he's opened his bag up and got his little A to Z out. So I thought something's gone wrong here. Dean must have done a fluke somewhere along the line on this.
I blame Dean.
Yeah, I thought I'm calling it 100% right. I know I'm calling it right because it's a banker. So I'm calling these regular, so I know that I'm calling the right route for the journey. But is there, has there a road changed or has something happened along the line? Then he looked at his map book and basically, he said, he goes, "You've done fine." He goes, "Done really well today." He goes, "What is it?" He goes, "I don't normally score people on their first appearance, but he goes, you deserve more than a C, but I'm going to give you a C because you won't score if I give you any more than that." He goes, "Because most of the examiners here know that I don't score people on their first appearance." So
I didn't know. I mean,
that's a story what he told me. But that's
I'll have to check his scores now on first appearances. So I can look on the database.
Yeah, but that's what he told me. Yeah, but I only done it through the bankers that I actually learned. If I didn't learn the bankers, I wouldn't have done it.
I was speaking the other day with Ian Beetlestone, who is a cab driver, and he, on his first appearance, had Mr. Wilkin, and Mr. Wilkin gave him a AA, which you can no longer get. So for those listening, the AA is 12
that's
points.
unfair, not getting AAs anymore.
Well,
not that I'm going to get one, but I'm just saying if the students are so good and can get it.
Well, this was Mr. Wilkins. I think this was the point he was making. So he's asked 4 Blue Book runs. Now, if you answer them perfectly, which most of us should be able to do, you will merit a AA because you've answered 4 questions perfectly. That's what 4 points would be. So he was making the point. I've asked this guy 4 runs. He's got them perfectly correct. And he's going to get a AA. And he did get a AA, and he got his drop to 28s on his very first appearance. And I thought, well, that's great. But kind of both of us knew this is a blessing in disguise. No, not a blessing in disguise. What's the other? The opposite to a blessing in disguise, complete opposite. From then on, he got 8 Ds on 28s and was redlined back to 56s anyway. So he wasn't good enough for 28s.
Maybe it was pot luck, that was.
Well, it wasn't luck. It was bad. It was actually being a point being made. If you get the 4 questions correct, you get AA. And he's asking in Blue Book runs. Nothing to stop me asking you Blue Book runs. You will get given a AA. And you have to be ready. And I think at the time Ian hadn't even finished his Blue Book runs. I'm not sure. So he was kind of in there early, and now he's on 28s, and it's a disaster for him because he's trying to catch up. Yeah. And, there is some theory behind the 56s. You are having a chance, an opportunity to take a breath.
Learn your roots, isn't it? 56s.
Yeah, I think this is a slow journey. I think that's the key to it all.
So it shouldn't be so slow, should it? Because, again, I had a guy on yesterday who completed the knowledge in 5 appearances back in 1982.
Yeah.
So
I've met him yesterday. I was leaving.
It was lovely still. And he said that but the knowledge shouldn't be made easier. And I thought, Sil, you just said you'd done it in 5 appearances and the knowledge shouldn't be made easier. They are kind of a lot of people going back in history who think the knowledge is the same and that we are lazier than they were then, not that the knowledge is harder now, that we are not as good as them then.
I don't agree with that.
No, it's not true at all. The knowledge is astronomically more difficult. The volume of points that we learn, the complexity of the routes and the point to point we have to achieve, and the fact of the number of appearances. You cannot do 5 appearances. I have had one student, Peter Bishop, I think his name was, he'd done 5 appearances, and that was a ridiculous amount of scores. He only had A's and double A's to get out in 5 appearances, and that was in the modern era. But apart from him, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything close. So the next closest would be about 10 appearances. But on average, everyone's going to be 12 plus. Yeah. So you're doubling what he done in 1982.
Yeah, but not in 1982, Dean. All the hotels was in Park Lane.
Well, no, again, yes. And going back further, and again, from what I can see from history, you used to be only really tested on fairly large stuff. And the points got smaller and smaller and smaller until it got questioned as being absurd.
And then they didn't ask you where Paddington Station was. They told you take me from Paddington Station to there, A to B. They didn't ask you where the points were. So all you need to do is study on your where Paddington Station was, didn't you? On blue books.
On the big stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you was getting much more related and much more big stuff.
Nowadays, they ask you, as you just mentioned, small points to small points.
But you're not even part of the era of the super small points.
No.
I've got some. I've got still in my head.
From the days.
Blue plaques and all sorts of stuff like that don't get asked no more.
Lord Snoot's dog, which is a fake plaque. There was a lot of fake plaques that were being put up. Benny Hill's blue plaque was asked often.
Dusty Springfield's Orby Walk.
Yep. Jimi Hendrix and Mozart, I think it's Mozart, was in the same house.
Submarine Memorial was one of yours.
Submariners Memorial, which is I like the Submariners Memorial.
Yeah, I like that.
Because it's a circle and they're all cramped in there and it's a bit claustrophobic, but very hard to spot as well. You can drive past it so many times and never see it.
I've never seen it until I've done the knowledge. How many times I've been down the embankment? So many times.
Yeah.
Not seen it.
Do you think they should start asking points like the 2 mice eating cheese and stuff again, which is old classics?
I remember that. That was Wilkins' point, wasn't it? Mr. Wilkins.
It was from a book that he got called The 101 Oddities of London, which was a really nice little book. There was lots of silly little places, the cherubs on the phones and stuff like that, which you had to find them. But it got to a stage that it got completely absurd. There was the man with his head in a bucket, and there was a few others like that, which were completely absurd. The man with his head in a bucket was a mannequin, but it had been bent over and a bucket had been put on his head and it had been left on a balcony of one of the television studios and you could see it and it was just standing there for quite a long time and it started getting asked. So it's like,
I think some of it's interesting. I asked young boy Dean the other day, who's a student here, the mini Lansbury Memorial.
Yep, the clock.
Yeah, although he lives in Bow, he didn't know it.
Yeah.
And I drove down Bow so many times looking for that. When I try to find it, but it's up in the air, you got to look up.
Yes. There's another interesting thing about that. I think Angela Lansbury, the actress, is a relation.
Yeah, I did read up about it at one time, but I can't remember when I was speaking to Dean about it. I did say to him there was a big story on that clock, worth reading. It was an interesting story. But some of these stuff, once you've read the story of the clock, basically it gives you more understanding of
and this is the stuff that they took away. I did enjoy a lot of that stuff. It was easier to remember because of the interest factor.
That's it.
And we all know the hardest thing to get ever is a road. When someone asks you a road,
definitely.
it's we can get stuck. So on that basis, I'm going to ask you both a road to end off this podcast, and if you get it, you get tea and medals. If you don't get it,
you live empty-handed.
It's just hard luck. So I'm going to go with nice, easy ones, I think. So I'm going to go with you first, Phil. I'm going to go with Tudor Street.
White Lion Street.
White Lion Street.
That's Tudor Street is Bouverie Street.
Yeah,
Tudor Street, yeah.
And where's White Lion Street?
That's the other. Yeah, White Lion Street is on. Can't even think now.
In Islington. No, Barron Street.
Oh yeah, I know it.
Is it an high street?
Right, yeah.
Penton
Like
Street.
where there's an embassy there.
That's right, it's so hard.
Half a cup of tea and a medal for you, Phil.
Full roads.
Yeah.
Hard, very hard.
And for you, Sir Touch, maybe I could think of something topical that's Turkish. Oh dear, what was
Cypress Street.
Well, yeah, Cypress Street would be good, but no, that's too easy. All right, I hit you with another one. Sheringham Road.
I know Sheringham Road is in Liverpool Street that way.
Yeah, you're in the right place. Yeah, well done. I'm going to give you, just on the basis of Liverpool, you're in the right place. Well done. Listen, thank you both for having a chat. I think it's been lovely. Both been very, very determined. You're both getting there, and it's really pleasing to see. And it really has been quite nice chatting with you. And I probably would like to chat with you again because it was really, I'm quite pleased.
Look forward to that.
Yeah.
And never give up.
No, never give up. That's
Never
it.
give up.
Thank you very much.
Keep digging.
Thank you.
Good luck, guys.
Cheers.